All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 8 here at DGweekly Live. As you can tell, this week we're going to be talking about one of, if not the most popular Westside driver, one of the most popular Westside drivers, and that's going to be the Giant. The Giant is a really fast, slightly overstable distance driver. We'll get to that here in a minute. Really quickly, we do have Danny behind the scenes relaying any questions over to me. So if you have a question about the Giant, what it's similar to, how it flies on certain shots, anything like that, leave that down in the comments below, and Danny will relay that over to me so we can get that answered for you. And also, as always, we have a 10% coupon code for the Giant, and it's going to be for both the tournament plastic and the VIP plastic, and it also applies to both the finish stamps in those plastics as well. The 10% off code for that is Giant10, and that's going to work at dynamicdiscs.com. So when you go ahead and buy one of these, put that in and you'll save a few dollars and get some distance. Do we have any early questions here, Danny? Otherwise, I can get into this really quick. There are some new-ish things about the Giant. We did renumber the Giant. As you can see on this stamp, it says 13514, but the Giant was actually renumbered, I believe it was last year, to now it is 134 0 and a 3.5 fade. Personally, I think these new numbers are definitely more accurate. The positive 1 turn and the 4 fade make this disc seem a little bit more overstable than it is, but we will get to that here in a minute. Do we have questions, Danny?
Not right now.
Nothing? Hey, it's been a minute. We'll get to that. Ask what?
Is the audio okay?
Is the audio good? Can people hear me? Hopefully.
Somebody says it might be loud.
Might be loud? I'll talk quieter. I'll just talk like this, and then it won't be too loud. Okay, Danny's getting on that for us. Looks like it should be fixed. I'm getting the thumbs up. So, like I was saying, the Giant was renumbered from 13 speed, 5 glide, turn of positive 1 and a fade of positive 4. That is very overstable. That makes me think that this disc is almost stiletto-like in its stability. A positive 1 fade is something like a criminal, where you're throwing it and immediately out of your hand it's starting to fade. So I think the turn of 0, which means it's going to hold straight, and the fade of a 3.5, like it's been renumbered to, I think is very, very accurate. To me, what this disc is most similar to is going to be the Enforcer from us at Dynamic Discs. I think they're both similar discs. The Enforcer's numbers are speed 12, glide 4, turn of a positive 0.5, and a fade of 4. So the Enforcer is a little bit more overstable. Personally, I think I get a little bit more distance out of the Enforcer as well. I think the Giant is like a straighter version of the Enforcer. I think it has the same high-speed stability, but not quite as much of an aggressive finish. It doesn't finish out quite as hard as the Enforcer, but you could definitely have, you could replace one with the other, I think, without much issue. As far as plastics, like we said, the coupon code Giant10 works on both the tournament plastic and the VIP plastics. So we do have tournament and VIP, as well as there are some MyDye VIP plastics as well. This one's kind of got like an American flag on it. This one's more of just a tie-dye sunburst look to it, as well as the VIP Air plastics. And you can see we have 2 different colors here. These probably go like the farthest any disc has ever gone. I think with the Air plastic being lighter and it goes a little bit farther, with the stability of the Giant, I think these things would just absolutely bomb. Personally, I don't like to throw high-speed discs in lighter weights because you have to throw them so fast, and I don't quite have the touch and control of like an Eric McCabe, where you can still throw this as fast as it needs to be, but you have that touch on your shot so that there's it's not coming with any off-axis torque. You don't have to worry about anything like that. Do we have any questions regarding the plastics or anything like that, Danny?
Somebody asked what's slightly more overstable than the Giant, so either a disc or I guess plastic.
What is a slightly more overstable version of the Giant? I say the Enforcer. The most overstable plastic would probably be this VIP, but if you need a little bit more stability, I say the Enforcer. This is what I use for a lot of my distance shots because it handles power a little bit better than the Giant. Not that the Giant doesn't handle power well. but if you need a full power hyzer shot into a strong headwind, I would feel more comfortable throwing an Enforcer than a Giant. So I think if you're looking for that, definitely step up to the Enforcer. Like the numbers, I know they're not everything, so don't crucify me for that one, Bobby. But the numbers for the Giant are a 0 turn and a 3.5 fade, where on the Enforcer it's a 0.5 turn, so a positive turn and a 4 fade. So it's just a little bit more overstable. You're going to get very similar distances and very similar flight paths, but the Enforcer is going to finish a little bit more. It's going to finish a little bit harder, I would say. Let's see if we can get a close-up here on the rims. On the we have the Enforcer up top, and then there you can see the Enforcer is the pink on the top there, and the Giant is the yellow on the bottom. You can kind of see they're both wide rim drivers, but the Enforcer there is on the top, a little bit more overstable. I feel like the Giant has a little bit more dome to it as well, but both are very comfortable in the hand. I don't think you're going to struggle with anything like that. The rim width is about the same on both. Again, the Enforcer is pink, the Giant there is the yellow.
Is the Giant less stable than a Defender?
Is the Giant less stable than a Defender? I would say a little bit. They're similar for me for sure. I think the Defender, they're both 13 speed discs, but the Defender just seems to fly faster for me. It could totally just be a mental thing. I think it flies a little bit faster. I think it flies a little bit farther. But I think the Giant is a little bit less stable as well. A little bit slower, a little bit less overstable for sure. Do we have any other questions, Danny, about what the Giant does, what it might be similar to?
No, it doesn't look like it for now.
Okay, for the Latitude lineup, I would say it's most similar to something like a Gladiator if you're not quite as familiar with the Dynamic Discs lineup. I would say that the Giant is more similar to that of a Gladiator. Here we have a Defender. Thank you for grabbing that for me, Danny. We'll take a close-up look at the rims here in just a second. We have the Defender is going to be on top, and the Giant is there on the bottom. You can see Defender on the top there. Maybe a little bit wider rim on the Defender, a little bit less dome to it as well. So I think it flies a little bit farther. I think it flies a little bit faster, and it just has a little bit more finish. Could be just because of that wider rim to it.
Will we ever see a Burst Giant?
Will we ever see a Burst Giant? I would assume so, yeah. I don't have any knowledge of what's in production and what's not, but yeah, I would not be shocked to see those come sometime soon.
Is Burst exclusive to Latitude 64?
Is Burst exclusive to Latitude 64? No, it's not, because here, Burst suspect. So no, it is not exclusive to Latitude 64. There are Burst Dynamic Discs molds. There are Burst Westside Discs molds as well. I do not know of any Burst Giants, but we do have these My-Dye Giants. This one's kind of Sunburst-y-ish, but it's a dye. It's not in the actual plastic. I would expect Burst Giants at some point in the future, though, for sure.
Should I throw them over to the throws?
Yeah, we do actually have some clips of Danny throwing the Giant in his 3 reasons. If you haven't seen those, check out the Dynamic Discs. It's called, it's 3 reasons why you should throw a certain disc, and then that's the disc that we come here and talk about. So if you want to see Danny's point of view on the Giant, head to the Dynamic Discs Instagram story, but we do have some of those clips that we are going to roll for you now. Oh, just kidding. They're rolling already.
I can do it again.
Double click. What would you say, Danny, for you, the Giant is most similar to?
Probably a little bit seasoned Biofusion Defender.
Okay.
It's pretty between a Defender and a Trespass as far as I put it.
Okay. So I don't know if everyone heard that or not. I asked Danny what he thinks the Giant is most similar to, and he said it's kind of between a Defender and a Trespass, kind of like a beat-up Biofusion Defender. I think that's definitely true for sure. Danny has a little bit higher arm speed than I do, so he's going to notice a little bit more of the differences in those really high speed, that top end disc flight. So yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I think the Defender's a little bit more overstable, and the Trespass is definitely not as overstable as the Giant.
Just for reference, the throws are about 425, I would say.
Okay, Danny said for reference, the throws that you guys saw are about 425 feet. So.
Forehand's not that far, though, maybe like 330.
Okay, the forehand he's saying is about 330-ish, so a little bit shorter on that one, but still plenty of distance for a sidearm shot, not short at all. And then 425 on a backhand is real good. You're going to want that pretty much anytime you're stepping up to a hole, even if it's a 200-foot hole, just throw 200 feet past it. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. What you should do is pick up one of these Giants here. Personally, my favorite plastic for the Giant is the VIP plastic. I just like it because I think it holds its stability the longest, and a disc like the Giant or the Enforcer or the Defender, things like that we've been talking about, those really high-speed, overstable discs, I want them to stay as overstable as long as possible. I'm using them for long-distance shots where you're throwing it hard, you're throwing it fast, probably going to be some wind, so you want it to keep that stability. That's why I prefer the VIP, but the tournament plastic is also a very nice option. Beats in a little bit faster, and it has a little bit more dome to it as well. If you're looking to try out any of the VIP or the tournament plastic Giants, head to dynamicdiscs.com. The coupon code GIANT10 will get you 10% off, and that runs from right now, it's active now, until midnight Central Time tomorrow. So if you've been looking at the Giant, you've been wanting to try it, or if you need some distance in your bag, if you need something that's going to go farther, if you need a little bit more of a wind fighting disc, definitely check this thing out. It's one of Westside's most popular molds for a very good reason. This is an absolutely fantastic disc for a lot of arm speeds. If you're throwing anything higher than like 340, 350 feet, I think you could get some good flights out of this. If you're towards the bottom of that range, it's going to be an overstable disc, a very overstable disc for kind of get around corner shots, strong headwinds, and anything above probably 370, 380, this is going to become your new go-to just max distance driver. And once again, that coupon code is GIANT10, and that works from now until midnight tomorrow at dynamicdiscs.com. And also, it's been a second, so if we do have any new joiners or new viewers joining us, I should say, leave your comments about the Giant, what it might be similar to, anything like that, in the comments down below. I have Danny behind the camera. He will relay those over to me so we can get those answered for you. Do we have any questions, Danny?
Have you thrown any recycled Giants, or are those coming back, you know?
Have I thrown the recycled Giant? No, I have not. Are they coming back? I do not know. Like I said earlier about the burst Giants, I don't really find out about discs coming out or being produced until they get here, which is usually a day or less than when it's released on the website. So I know that we don't have any right now. I know that we will not have any on the website tomorrow. Anything after that, I don't know, unfortunately. I would hope they come back because the recycled plastic, the biofusion plastic is really nice if you're trying to beat in an overstable disc. I really like it because it beats in a little bit faster than something like this, but unfortunately I don't have that direct answer for you.
How does the Giant do on a forehand?
How does the Giant do on a forehand? Oh, it's super good. Super good. Like I was saying, the Enforcer is a little bit more overstable, which is good for forehands because you're putting a lot more torque on it and it can handle it. But the Giant is that perfect stability, for me at least, for my forehand. You saw Danny's clip of it going around 330 feet, he said. I feel like that's about the max that I can throw a sidearm as well. And if I throw this thing nice and flat, it's going to hold straight for a good 300 feet and then start to work its way over. And that's what I want. It doesn't work its way over as much as an Enforcer or as early as an Enforcer would. It's going to hold a little bit straighter, a little bit longer. So I loved it on a sidearm. The tournament plastic ones have a little bit more dome. So I, like I said, preferred the VIP plastic. It's a little bit flatter on top, a little bit more comfortable for a sidearm grip for me personally. But it's a fantastic sidearm disc. I don't have great sidearm technique, and it's overstable enough to handle that, but it's not so overstable that it's dumping You're getting no distance with it. You're not getting any sort of control or anything like that. This is a really, really good sidearm disc for sure.
Fusion Enforcer or a Giant is more overstable at about 325 feet.
Fusion Enforcer or a Giant, what's more overstable at, you said 320 feet? I would say the Enforcer is more overstable at all distances. I think it's definitely a more overstable disc, period. I think they're similar, but I think that the Enforcer definitely has just a little bit more bite to it, a little bit more of an aggressive finish at the end. If you're at 325 feet, both of these are going to be very overstable for you. The Enforcer just ever so slightly more. At that distance, it's probably not going to be enough that you'll notice. So if you have experience with the Enforcer, the Giant's going to be very similar to you at that 325-foot mark for sure. If you're looking for something a little bit less overstable than the Giant, the Trespass from Dynamic Discs is a really good option. Like Danny said, this is kind of between a Defender and a Trespass for him. The Trespass is a little bit straighter, a little bit more understable, and it's going to glide and carry down the fairways a little bit more. So if the Giant is just a little bit too much for you and you're looking for some more distance, you could try that Trespass, but this Giant is so good. Maybe if you throw the Trespass and you need a little bit more overstability, you need something that's going to fight some winds like we have here in Kansas, this Giant is definitely the way to go. And you can pick one up and save yourself a few dollars by using the coupon code GIANT10 at dynamicdiscs.com. And that's going to apply to both tournament plastics, both the English and Finnish stamps, which we are not running anymore. The tournament plastic, or not, excuse me, not the tournament plastic, the Finnish stamps are no longer being run. So if you're trying to pick up some sort of a collector disc or something like that, the Finnish stamps, we have both tournament plastic and VIP Finnish stamps. And then these are super cool. It's kind of like an ice clear VIP Giant. Super sweet. And that coupon code once again is GIANT10 to save yourself 10% off on any of these four plastics, the tournament plastic and the VIP plastic, English and Finnish stamps. Do we have any more questions coming in, Danny?
Somebody's asking if you about to bag the Giant. I don't, because I have a seasoned Defender, but I don't know about you.
Okay. Danny said no, he does not bag the Defender, or excuse me, he bags the Defender, he does not bag the Giant because he has beat-in Defenders. I used to bag the Giant, but I do not anymore. I switched to all Enforcers. I started beating Enforcers in to a similar stability than the Giant, and it could just be that it's a mental thing, but I felt like the Enforcer just got me a little bit more distance. I felt like it was a little bit faster coming out of my hand, and because that was what I had thrown for a lot longer, I have I have Enforcers that are more overstable. Just for that mold consistency in my bag, I decided to take the Giant out and go strictly with Enforcers. But you could definitely do that with the Giant. You definitely could replace Enforcers with Giants. So no, neither Danny or I have the Giant in our bag, but that's because we have things that are beat into similar stabilities that we're just more comfortable and more familiar with.
Somebody wants to know if they're popular in New York and San Francisco.
If the Giants are popular in New York and San Francisco. San Francisco, probably. New York, it depends what part. There's probably some Jets that are going to put up a stink about it, or I guess some Bills, depending on what part of the state you're from. But well played. Well played, sir. Oh, it was Doug. Never mind, I take that back. Doug is now laughing at me about 30 feet that way. Well done, Doug.
I don't see any other questions. I guess we should throw them over to the throws one more time.
All right, we do not have any more questions right now. If you have those, get them in really quickly. The throws, and so you can see how it flies, and then we'll come back and wrap everything up. All right, so that was Danny throwing it. Once again, if you guys haven't seen the Instagram story on Dynamic Discs, you can see a little bit more of Danny's perspective on the Giant. and he gives 3 reasons why you should throw the Giant, why he thinks you should throw it, and why it's a good disc. Really quickly, the plastic types again. There's the VIP Air plastic. This is a lighter weight plastic. These are both in the 150 to 154 range, so it's going to be a lot lighter than your max weight. Speaking of max weight, we have 2 max weight My-Dye Giants. So it's kind of got like an American flag, a little black around the rim, and then this one's just more of a sunbursty kind of a tie-dye explosion look to it. And then the 2 that are working with the coupon code, which is Giant 10. There are the VIP Giants, both in the English and Finnish stamps. We are no longer running the Finnish stamps. So what we have of these is what we have. We will not get any more. And then just look at that. Ice clear, super sweet. And last but certainly not least are the tournament plastic Giants. Once again, the coupon code Giant 10 will work on these English and Finnish stamps.
Purple one recycled?
Is the purple one recycled? It says Tournament Muovi. I don't speak Finnish, so I'm going to assume that means tournament plastic. I could very well be wrong because there's an R next to it. So maybe it is recycled.
Have you tried this disc on a forehand roller?
Have I tried it on a forehand roller? No. Forehand air shots, it's very good. And as Danny just pointed out, this actually is recycled. So to the guy who asked if we were getting recycled Giants in anytime soon, and I said, not today or tomorrow, I lied, we have them. Sorry, man. So yeah, we do have recycled Giants. That's my bad. Do we have any last minute questions, Danny? Other than
just the forehand roller one. How does it fly on a forehand roller?
how
I guess roll.
does it fly on a forehand roller? I would assume well. When I throw a forehand roller shot, I like my disc to be kind of in the stable to overstable category, which this definitely fits. But I've never tried it specifically with a Giant. I would assume it's going to hold a pretty straight line and then kind of curl around like most overstable discs do, but I couldn't tell you with 100% certainty that the Giant is going to do that. It could just be a miracle disc. The way to find out is with coupon code Giant10 on dynamicdiscs.com.
You want to compare it to the Enforcer and the Defender one more time?
The Giant compared to the Enforcer. I believe the Enforcer is a little bit more overstable. The numbers, take them for what you will, would back that up. The Giant has a 0 turn and a 3.5 fade, where the Enforcer has a 0.5 turn, a positive 0.5, and a 4 of fade. So you're going to get very similar flights until the finish, where the Enforcer is going to finish a little bit harder and a little bit more aggressively. And then the Defender, I think these are the 2 discs that are most similar to the Giant, the Enforcer and Defender. The Defender is a little bit faster out of my hand, I feel like. The rim is just a little bit wider. And then once again, I think the Defender is a little bit more overstable. So if you have any experience with the Defender and Enforcer and you just can't beat one in, it's just too overstable for you, I think the Giant is a really good way to go, a really good option for that. But they are all overstable distance drivers, headwinds, distance, just big power shots. That's what this disc excels at. I remember I was actually, when I was trying this disc out a few weeks ago, I was playing around with Eric McCabe, and he was talking about how the Giant was basically the Enforcer before the Enforcer. For all the top pros, they had it in their bags for those straight, long distance, overstable shots out on the tour. But then the Enforcer came out and it just handles their power a little bit better. So if you're someone like me who doesn't quite have that professional touring power like most golfers don't, I think the Giant is going to make a really good option for maybe those advanced level or lower tiered professional levels for that all-around max distance driver. Unless we have any last minute questions, Danny? No, that's it. So thank you all for watching. This was episode 8 of DG Weekly Live. Once again, if you did just happen to join us, the coupon code for these is Giant10, and that's going to apply to all tournament and VIP plastic Giants on the Dynamic Discs website, and that ends at midnight Central Time tomorrow. We will see you guys next week with a disc that you're going to have to come find out what it is, because I'm not going to tell you. All right, thanks, guys.